Hi, my name is Emily Bonaparte and I work for Klick Health. I lead our policy and advocacy department here at Klick, and I've led digital strategy for over 10 years with public health departments, nonprofits, advocacy groups, life science companies, and startups. From state level to national to international projects, I've led digital strategy. We'll take the experience today and discuss how to best use digital strategy for your crisis communications as well as your day-to-day communications. So today, we're going to be breaking up our learnings into 4 parts. First, we're going to look at a case study that shows social media usage by age and the importance of that. 2, best practices, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. 3, trends, and 4, do's and don'ts. So first, a note of Gen Z and social media usage. This is a snapshot showing which platforms they use the most and which they use the least. So from Snapchat being the highest, TikTok being the second, Reddit being the last. What's interesting about this is if we take a look at boomers. So boomers, they mostly utilize Facebook, quite different from Gen Z. They least likely to use TikTok. This isn't really important because if you're trying to get a message out to, let's say, boomers, TikTok isn't going to be the route to do it. It's really important to be mindful about where you put your messages. Next, best practices for TikTok. Noting that there is a ban on public devices, so you might not be able to use this for your communications. You can, though, share any information and content you have with your partners and ask them to post out on your behalf. It's really important to create high quality videos. So whether it be getting a ring light or a tripod, it's really important because the algorithm is going to push out any content that isn't filmed well. Utilizing niche hashtags, we can take a look here at this Narcan example. It says hashtag end overdose, hashtag Narcan. You want to think about specifically who you're trying to target. Maybe don't use something like hashtag health. It's a little too broad. Using trends wisely is important. You want to keep your authentic voice while also being a part of the internet culture. So it's a balancing act between being relevant, but also being yourself. Call to actions is extremely important. You want to ask people to comment, share, DM you, something that gets you data points on who your audience is and what they are thinking, but also pushes you up in the algorithm to becoming more important and more seen as you get more engagement on your post. Cross-promote across platforms. So the equivalent to TikTok on Instagram is Instagram Reels. You could utilize a video from TikTok and put it over there. Duet and Stitch. This is another example of something to look into where you can riff off of other people's content, other people's videos, to either make maybe a positive or a negative statement about what you think of their content. Next is Facebook. So this is mainly, as we saw earlier, a platform for older adults. Not only is it for older adults, but you might want to be thinking about reaching an older cohort when you're crafting messages. Additionally, it's the best platform for long form posts. So if you do need to have a lengthy message, this is a platform to do it. Facebook groups are really important. There's millions of them with geographic location, interest, demographics. So if you do want to kind of get targeted and look at what people are saying in your community, this is a great place. Peer-to-peer network. This is a space where a lot of people are sharing information with their friends and family, crafting messages that can be shared on that kind of network. It's a little less brand-centric. Posting once or twice a week. You don't need to post every day. Create messages that are shareable. And lastly, keep the messaging neutral. You don't need to get involved in the politics. Next is Instagram. You do want to post a little bit more often. The algorithm is going to favor a brand or an account that is posting regularly, maybe even daily. Using Instagram Reels is a great way to get your content in front of people that aren't already following you. This is one of the only ways on this platform to have people that aren't already following you see what you're posting. Interactive. This is especially important, especially in crisis communications. You do want to ask people for their feedback, their thoughts, to share their resources, whatever it might be. It's a way of kind of creating community online. And then for your day-to-day communications needs, you can use tools such as like Ask Me Anything or Take This Poll. These are ways to have an interactive bi-directional conversation with your audience. Time sensitivity is another great way for day-to-day communications to create a sense of urgency. So something like, in 5 days, we'll have this expert in talking about Y. In 3 days, we're going to be dropping a blog post about X. These things kind of get a little bit of excitement and buzz going for your department. Tagging. Tagging is one of the best ways to get content shared. So tagging your partners, tagging relevant people, tagging people that you want to see your content. It's a great way to kind of give a little nudge online and say, hey, share this information. Also, you want to respond to your followers, and you want to emphasize belief and values. So being that trusted messenger, being that authentic voice is really important. So X, formerly known as Twitter, there's some real concerns about X. There's been alternatives that have cropped up. They haven't really been very successful. So for now, we are going to focus on Twitter. It's an important communication for rapid communication. It's an important platform for rapid communications. It's probably one of the most like news-centric platforms. So you really do want to think about posting your crisis communications there first. Anecdotally, I was here in New York City when the wildfire smoke was coming through. Twitter was the first place I went to figure out if it was safe for me to go outside or not. It's a different audience on Twitter. It's a lot, maybe less family or friendship driven than Facebook, let's say. It's folks that are very online, very newsy, very kind of plugged in. So maybe edit your tone to fit that. There's no edit button. So make sure you feel good about what you're posting, because if not, you're gonna have to delete it if it's incorrect. Next on trends. So across the several different demographics, we can see that local news is the most trusted messenger for news media to reach folks. But what we can see is it is trending downward. What is trending upwards, even though it's at its lowest level here, is social media. So especially for the youngest demographic here, 18 to 29, you want to think about including social media in your comms, especially during a crisis, because while local news might be the best place to go to kind of get that trusted message out there, social media is rapidly becoming a very important place for people to find trusted news. So adults are finding their news everywhere, right? It's not just reading the paper anymore. It's looking at a variety of different platforms, from Twitter to WhatsApp to Snapchat to LinkedIn to Twitch. One interesting point about this, though, is that while most of these, it does seem like the news is trending down, on TikTok, it is trending upwards. So people are going to TikTok more often to get their news than they had been in previous years. It's just something to know as you're putting your comms out, especially for crisis communications, to ensure that people are receiving the message you're putting forth. Lastly, the do's. So you want to tailor your message by platform. We briefly touched on this before by thinking about tone, length, time of day, imagery. It's all very important. You want to think about specifically for each platform. It's not a one size fits all. Being intentional when trying to reach audiences in multiple languages is really important. So if you're primarily posting in English, people that have English as a second language might not be joining in on any kind of communications. So that being said, we really want to think about if you're posting a Spanish post, for example, maybe it might be better to give that information to your partner organization who already have a trusted relationship with the Spanish-speaking community. Creating bidirectional conversation, this is something we've touched on. Moving away from perfection to personality is really important. It's important, especially during a crisis, of course, to be very accurate. But in those day-to-day communications, creating a little bit of warmth, a little bit of authenticness. People come online because they want to have a connection. So really leading with that personality is the way to have people resonate with the positive messaging you're putting forth. You want to speak honestly about what you do and don't know. So you don't ever want to lie. The information is once out there. If you don't know and you don't feel comfortable posting something, don't do it. Just wait until you feel really comfortable and ready to put that message out there in the way that you think is going to be the most authentic and most trusted. And lastly, do put guardrails in place. So you want to think ahead of time, right? Before a crisis, at the beginning of the year for your communications planning, what you're going to need to be successful here. So it might be a staff person, it might be thinking about the voice you want to use or the platforms that are most important to you, but maybe just putting a little bit of methodology into your communications. And lastly, the don'ts. So don't use stock photos. This is a challenging one, I know, because it is a free resource and it's something that we've all been guilty of using. The issue here is that it doesn't really resonate with the audience. I don't know if you've ever looked at a stock photo, I don't think I have, and said, oh, that really reminds me of me, or that really invokes an emotion. It's a better idea to potentially crowdsource photography or videos from your community, ask them to put things to you. And you maybe don't want to worry about the image always being perfect. It's a little bit better if it has a little personality. Don't ignore the data. This is really important. Not every post is going to do well. Maybe determining and reflecting upon why a post didn't do well. Is it the time of day? Is it the tone? Is it the topic? And then planning for the future and saying, hey, maybe this topic doesn't do well. We might try to avoid it in the future. Don't get swept up in the comments. This is another important one, especially during a crisis communications, where you want to just don't participate. Don't get involved. You can even turn the comments off if you want, but when there's higher tensions online, it's not the time to really respond to those comments. You can make a separate post later on when you feel ready to address the issue at hand. Don't forget your partners. This is an important one. They're going to be the greatest ally in terms of getting messaging out, whether it be social, email, in person, etc. And lastly, don't get overwhelmed. This is a lot of information, but it's all very positive. And as long as you're showing up as an authentic, warm communicator online, your message is going to resonate. Thank you so much.